What's up guys, my name is Josh, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be talking about the skeleton barrel. It just got a buff, not in the most recent balance changes, but in the balance change before that. They released the card about 2 months ago, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and it was quite underwhelming at first. Nobody, like any new card that gets released into the game, you know, nobody knows how to use it, nobody quite knows how to counter it. You know, and obviously that makes sense because it's a new card, so people don't know what to do with it. People didn't know whether it was to be used as a distraction, you know, as a win condition. So even myself, when the card first came out, I put it into a bunch of Lava Hound decks, and this was when Inferno Tower was really strong. So I put the barrel in to Lava Hound decks to try and distract the Inferno Tower. You know, it would lock onto the barrel. And then obviously once it would melt the barrel, it would pop the skeletons, and then that would distract the Inferno long enough for all the supporting troops to kind of help the Lava Hound deal with it. And it worked to some success, but I think obviously right now in the meta, where it's at its strongest, is basically zap bait and log bait. So essentially, you've got this free elixir card that, you know, is an air card, so ground troops can't target it. Well, some ground troops that target air can, obviously, but predominantly it's an air card, obviously. And what we have is like 10 skeletons inside. So obviously, once that balloon pops, all the skeletons come out, and you need to zap it or you need to log it. And if you don't react to it, you know, it can pretty much take your tower. If you've got, for example, the deck going around right now is very zap bait, log bait. It's, you know, one of the most popular decks with skeleton barrel right now is Miner, Inferno Dragon, Skeleton Barrel, Bats, Poison, Zap, Goblin Hut, because there's so many elements of Zap in that deck that if you zap the Bats, then you can't zap the skeletons that come out of the barrel. So it works really well. As far as how good the card is right now, I think it's in a great place. I don't think it needs a nerf. I don't think it needs a buff. I think it's extremely balanced. If anything, you could lean slightly towards the nerf side, just because it's 3 elixir and you can cycle it so quickly with obviously other zap based cards. You know, I think I saw there was a Spear Goblin, Goblin Hut, Royal Ghost, Skeleton Barrel, Miner, and Goblin Gang deck, and it's just, you basically have to zap 6 out of 8 cards in that deck. So if you zap the Goblin Gang, that means you can go in with the Goblins, the Skeleton Barrel. So yeah, I think the Skeleton Barrel is in a great place at the minute. I think, like I was saying, if it's slightly leaning on the nerf side, but I think it's balanced. I think more and more people know how to deal with it and know what to do, and I don't think it's a card that, you know, needs an immediate nerf or needs an immediate buff. Like it's in a good place at the moment, and I think for the card that it is, for 3 elixir, and you know talking about all its attributes, I think it's got a great place. Well, I'm not sure about ladder. I'm not sure how it works on ladder because that's not my area, but it's got pretty high usage rates and pretty average win rates. You know, so I'm you know, I think it's in a great place, and I don't think it needs a nerf or a buff. But I do think if it was to get one of the two, it would be slightly on the nerf side, you know, and you could speculate and say what it is. And if I was gonna give it a nerf, again, I don't think it needs a nerf, but if we were gonna give it a nerf, I think that it might need to spawn 1 less skeleton or something to that degree. I think the death damage that just recently got added to it in the past balance changes, or a couple balance changes ago, I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, I think it got a death damage, and I think that's what propelled it into the meta, because obviously if you get it to the tower, it's going to be constant chip damage. You know, combine that with the minus chip damage and the poison, it's a recipe for success. I've been using it in a lot of my decks, and it's been working really well. You know, so much zap elements to it, and I think it's a great card. I think for 3 elixir, like I say, it's a bit like a mini graveyard that doesn't get targeted by of the ground troops, if that makes sense. I'm not sure how many skeletons it spawns, but it's kind of like a graveyard. it spawns 6, 7, or 8 skeletons, something like that, and it's 2 elixir less than a graveyard. It can be countered by poison, but obviously that's a 1 elixir negative trade for the person using it, using poison to defend with. And I think it's almost put graveyard out of the question, because poison's such a good card to completely shut down the graveyard with. For 1 less elixir, you can completely shut down the graveyard every single time, which in my opinion is a joke. And we spoke about poison before, and we know how overpowered it is, and we know my opinions. I think it needs a balance. I think they don't want to touch it because it's a spell, but I think something needs to be done. Anyway, I could go on for hours talking about poison, but I think with the skeleton barrel, it's basically taking the place of the graveyard, because it's 2 elixir less. You get constant chip damage on the tower, and you get half the amount of skeletons that you do with the graveyard. But if somebody does counter it with a poison, they're losing out on 1 elixir. And everyone has zap in their deck. So obviously now we see, with the skeleton barrel, we see the zap meta where if you zap the skeleton barrel, we'll send in a goblin gang, we'll send in bats, we'll send in this, we'll send in this, we'll send in this, all zap cards. And I think it's an interesting meta right now. I think the skeleton barrel has kind of shaped it in a way, because people have looked at that card and gone, oh, what can we combine that with? What other cards, zap-based cards, can we combine it with to make this kind of zap-based deck? And I think it's super strong right now. I think it's balanced but super strong, if that makes sense. The only thing that makes it super strong is that obviously the supporting cards around it are super strong as well, like Bats, Goblin Gang, Minion Horde. All these swarm zap units make the barrel even stronger, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't think it needs a nerf. I don't think it needs a buff. If they were going to touch on it, I think what they could do is take 1 skeleton away, possibly, or reduce the death damage ever so slightly by 1 or 2 points. I think the death damage is 50 something at the moment. They could probably reduce that down to 1 skeleton. Makes the most logical sense, because then it's just reducing the damage by a little bit. But I think it's a balanced card. For some reason the audio cut out at the end of this video. But basically all I was saying was that I thought the skeleton barrel was a balanced card and that it didn't need a change. And basically I was just saying, peace out.